Blessed be and welcome to another episode of Witch Please. It is I, Odin the Seer, and today we are going to be making our Litha or Midsummer Incense. The sun god is at his peak. This is the longest day of the year. The goddess is fully pregnant with the god. Okay? This is a very strong representation. This shows you that even though the god is at the height of his peak, he's still a baby. Right? He's getting ready to be reborn. Right? The god is always alive. This is such a powerful time. This is a great time to do magics on love. It is it's a great time for doing magic for the upcoming year, and people don't know that. You're planting the seed right now. You're using the power. You're harnessing the power of Litha in your workings to be able to ensure that when the horn god, when the sun god is born, right, you will be able to take that energy and be able to run with it. This is a powerful, powerful time. I always recommend when you are making a midsummer or a Litha incense, remember, in this hemisphere, it is the height of summer. In the southern hemisphere, it is the height of winter. Always take that into consideration when you're doing your workings. Always take that into consideration so that you can really harness the power of this time. And not just thinking about the now, but also thinking about your future now. So, what are you going to need for this? Well, you are going to need some frankincense. Now, frankincense is very, very powerful, all right? It brings in an illumination. It is great for goals and dreams. It assists with having what you're requesting brought up to the divine. You really want to bring in that vibration, okay, of spirituality. You really want to bring in that vibration, that connection to the gods. You want to be able to have your path illuminated before you. And that's the reason why we use our frankincense. Now, I like to use dragon's blood because dragon's blood is wonderful as a power amplifier. It is very protective. It also keeps you safe. I want my magic to be protected. I want this to be fortified. I want this to be able to come to fruition. I don't want anything that's going to hinder these workings. And I find that putting in a little bit of dragon's blood during this time is very powerful. And I also like to use dragon's blood at this point in time because when I am doing my Yule ritual as well, I have a tendency to use dragon's blood to represent the blood of birth. Okay? So I like to be able to bring in that association as well because we do know that in the southern hemisphere that we are now, the horn god is basically, we're at the height of winter. So if you take that terminology, this is when the horn god is being born and so on and so forth. I use Angelica root because Angelica root is a root and it's great for the foundations, okay? We also want to be able to bring in the angels in this reality, okay? We want to honor our guides, our guiding angels, our archangels, all of these beings that facilitate magic and mastery and power. And we want to be able to really pay homage to that. Understand, y'all, even though we're in these flesh suits, we are still angels. We are not our skin. We are not our bones. We are angels. We are a being, okay? An eternal being in this flesh suit, in this reality, having an experience. And that's why I use Angelica root for this working. I like to bring in the lavender because the lavender is very, very powerful when it comes to luck, reaching your goals, right? Manifestation, okay? Connecting the deepest self to the highest self, okay? Forming and solidifying that bond, the middle way, honey. I really like to bring that in because remember, we're not just working on the northern hemisphere here, okay? We're also working on the southern hemisphere, above and below. The next thing we're going to be using is Yarrow. Yarrow is great when it comes to unity. It keeps people together. It creates a bond. Right? It's great for bringing in that love and that compassion. It's also really good with breaking the blocks and those limits that we hold, those bigotries and those illusions that we hold, right? Allowing us to see what is real, see the inside rather than seeing the external. I like to bring in Thyme because Thyme is great when it comes to family. The goddess is pregnant. The horn god is at his peak. They're a family. We are all family. We're all one. And what's going on right now in this reality with everybody and bigotry and racism and all of these variables, we need to understand that we're family. And I wanted to be able to bring in that time for that aspect of family, that aspect of unity, being connected, because we are all connected. I like to use elderberries because elderberries are a great offering. It's about celebration. It's about having a long and beautiful life. It's a remembrance of the fact that we are more than our skin. We are more than our bones. That even though we may think about death and dying and all these other variables, the horned god is still very much alive in the womb of the goddess. And I like to bring in those elderberries to remind us that we are always alive. And it is not the physical that brings us abundance. It's what's inside that brings us abundance. It's what's inside that is real. The next thing I'm going to be using is elderflower. I bring in the elderflower because we do have to understand the reality that we're living in. And elderflowers help us be able to remove the blocks, remove the illusion, to get back to what matters, what is real. Elderflowers help us shine the light into the darkness. Elderflowers allow us to be able to remember our soul and that it is eternal. Benzoin is wonderful when it comes to connecting and drawing. It's like a glue. It glues us together. And I like to add in the benzoin, especially when it comes to the yarrow herb. Because the benzoin, the yarrow creates that bond, and that benzoin keeps that bond sticky, that it does not break. Right? That it may bend. It may even stretch, but it never breaks. We may have our conflicts, but we're still one. We're still all God's children. We're still family. I bring in St. John's Wort because St. John's Wort is great when it comes to healing the past traumas that we have. Healing all of those cancers that make it difficult for us to live within this reality. That struggle that we feel. Those moments where we're just like, is it even worth it? What is all of this about? St. John's Wort gives you the power to stay strong, to overcome, to see things for what they are, and have the power to be able to keep on going, keep on keeping on. I like to bring in chamomile so that this whole movement, this whole year is going to be, right? But this rest of this year and the beginning of next year until we get back to this time, it's going to be a place of comfort, manifestation and transformation, absolutely. But it's also going to be a wonderful time for us to be able to have that peace. right? It brings in the sun energy. It helps with feeling rooted and comfortable where we are, who we are. It allows for us to want to know ourselves better, and that's so powerful. This time of year, we are in the height of practicing who we are now. It's the implementation. And some of those realizations that we came to may have been hard, y'all. Probably were. But chamomile in this mixture helps them not be overwhelming. Sandalwood. I like to bring in sandalwood to help emphasize, right, the spiritual aspect of the chamomile. To allow us to rejoice in just the blessing that we are here having a wonderful experience with its ups and its downs, but we are here and we are working towards unity, coming back to the one. And that brings me into my last botanical, and that is rose. Sometimes perfection is not always what you want, my witches. But I want to be able to learn and grow. Get back to me. To my part of the one. My part of the many that make up the whole. And I want me in this placement to be perfect. The most perfect me I can be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our frankincense. Now the frankincense is not necessarily a lot that we're going to be using, and we need to powder this down. I like a lot of my incenses to be raw when they come to the sacred times of the year. But I like to powder some of the incenses down, and this one I like to powder down. I like the heat of the pestle and mortar when you're grinding it together to be in this energy, okay? So we're going to take just a little bit of our frankincense here, and we are going to, I don't know if you can see that there, and we're going to put this in here, and we are going to bless it. Okay, so now we're just going to powder this down. So I'm just going to take this, place it on my red piece of paper. So now we're going to take this, and we're just going to add this into our master bottle. And we're going to move on now to our dragon's blood. Alright, so we're just going to take the dragon's blood here and we're going to put that in. We're going to go through the same thing. Alright, so now we're going to add in our Angelica. And this is just a little bit of Angelica root, and I'm just going to put that right in there. The reason why I do this is because this is a root, okay? And this is really the only root that you'll find in here. We have the blood, dragon's blood, and we have the foundations. And this is why I do it like this. The combination of these two together is a life force. Think about it. Okay? The root and the blood. It's a life force. And I like to combine these together when I am making this ritual incense. So, we're going to pray over this now. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we are going to now loosely grind this down. Now I'm going to take this and add that to the master bottle. Alright, so we're not going to need that sheet now until we get to the benzoin. The rest of this, other than the benzoin, is just blessing and placing it into the master bottle. Alright, so now we're going to add in our lavender, and I've got quite a bit here, as you can see. Now I want to make it clear here, When I say the spirit and the soul, if you look at the God in regards to being at the peak of his power, okay, that is spirit, illumination. Okay, when you look at the God in the womb who is growing, that is soul, deepest self. So what we're going to do is we are going to now add this to our master bottle. And if it falls everywhere, darling, get a little messy. It's all right. Okay. And the last one is rose petals. Now, I wanted to let you know that what I do is I try and get close to filling up the bottle as much as I can. Now, this is not a recipe, 3 parts, 2 parts. This is gauging and putting it together. This comes from the deepest self. Okay? All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as above, so below. Now this is going to be pretty hard to incorporate. Now you're going to be tempted to open it up and put it in something and shake it. I don't recommend that, okay? What I do with this is I continue to work. I allow myself. So I'm going to get up and I'm going to actually shake this. And every time I am burning a little bit, I'm going to try and stick my fingers in a little bit and burn some, right? Take a little bit of the rose, go down a little bit deeper, but shake this in. That's one of the reasons why we put the resin at the bottom, because the resin can get to those little nooks and crevices, because I'm looking at the top now and I can already see resin on the top, okay? This is a working process, okay? And that's why I layer it up like that. Now, what can you use this for? You can use this for anything to do with the height of this time of year, this power, this illumination. I use my Litha or Midsummer incenses for anything to do with drawing people together in love, allowing people to see the truth of what's going on. I use my Litha or Midsummer incense when it comes to unity and bringing together oppositions. I use this incense for anything to do when it comes to family and home. I even use this incense when I need to get some things done. This is a very powerful time of year, my witches. And a lot of people like to focus their time and their energy on manifesting what they want. And this is the time for doing it. But what we need right now in this world is we need to come together. More so than for a long time. And that's why I focused this Midsummer incense on bringing us together. It's important. We need this now. And I'm not going to just use this for unity. But I want unity to be in everything that I do for the next year while using this. And that is our episode for today. If you have not pressed subscribe, you know you need to press subscribe, join the Witch Please family, and do not miss out on a thing. You can follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, as well as Facebook. You can always send me a personal email at witchpleaseofficial@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below. Don't forget to press that bell icon so you're notified when a new video comes out, because you know you don't want to miss a thing. Now remember, my witches, if you want to see the full ritual, go to our Patreon account. You can get a month access, and you're supporting me for less than a Starbucks coffee a month. I've said it before, my witches, and I will say it again. It is a pleasure to have you in my world. It is an honor to have you in my magic. You are always in my heart. I will see you again on another episode of Witch Please. I love you, boo-boos, and have a happy midsummer, Litha.